In Greek mythology, Cerberus is a terrible three-headed monster that watches over the underworld's entrance. He let the spirits of the dead pass into Hades, but kept the living out. Typhon, a giant, and Echidna, a hybrid of a woman and a serpent, are the parents of Cerberus. Cerberus's Egyptian equivalent is called Anubis. He was a guardian of the underworld and possessed a dog's head, just like Cerberus. Theogony by Hesiod is the earliest work to mention Cerberus's name. According to Hesiod's Theogony, Cerberus was the son of a serpentine giant named Typhon who could breathe fire, and a creature that was half snake and half woman named Echidna. He was also the brother of other terrifying animals, such as the water snake, Lernaean Hydra, and the two-headed dog Orthos. Homer gave Cerberus the nickname Hound of Hades because he was a devoted friend of Hades, the deity of the dead and lord of the underworld. Hellhound was another term used to describe him. Hecataeus of Miletus said that Cerberus's nickname, the Hound of Hades, originated from Typhon, where a lethal serpent was raised. Anyone bitten by it would instantly die from the venom. Antiquated notions of a hereafter did little to reassure humanity. It was believed that only immortals and heroes belonged in idyllic locations like the Isles of the Blessed and the Elysian Fields, while monsters like Cerberus guarded gloomy, unsettling places like Tartarus and Hades. The underworld was guarded by Cerberus, who devoured the living to keep them from entering and permitting entry to those who had already passed the river Styx. Cerberus would capture any soul that attempted to flee the underworld. According to legend, Cerberus had 3 heads, each with a snake head on his back, a serpent head for a tail, and sharp fangs. Hesiod says that Cerberus had 50 heads, although the majority of sources say he had 3. In order to try to marry Helen, the sister of the Dioscuri, King Pirithous of the Lapiths requested his friend Theseus to travel to Sparta with him. Both of them took an oath promising to cast lots to win Helen's hand in marriage. The loser would get to wed another of Zeus's daughters. They ambushed Helen at a temple after riding into Sparta with an army. Theseus emerged victorious from the lottery. Since Helen was still a young kid and Theseus didn't want to upset the Dioscuri, he sent Helen to a different hamlet where she would be looked after by his mother and watched over by his friend Aphidnus. When Helen grew older, Pirithous recalled their agreement to Theseus, and they sought the advice of a Zeus oracle. This oracle advised them to look for Persephone to marry Pirithous. Theseus kept his word and escorted Pirithous all the way to Hades. Even though he had no desire to participate in this scheme, they asked for Persephone as they banged on the gates of Hades' castle. Hades welcomed them to take a seat after listening to their plea with composure. Theseus and Pirithous were unaware that Hades had given them the order to take a seat in the chair of forgetfulness. Hades watched as Cerberus and the Furies assaulted them, trapping them. Hercules was able to save Theseus when he went into Hades to capture Cerberus, but he was unable to save Pirithous. The story of Hercules' 12 labors is the most well-known myth featuring Cerberus. After the mythical Greek hero went insane and slaughtered his children, King Eurystheus of Tiryns had given him 12 labors to complete. Hercules used these difficult and hazardous duties as a means of making amends for his deeds. The most perilous labor thus far was the 12th and final one. Cerberus needed to be raised from Tartarus by Hercules. Hercules had to be purified for killing the centaurs and accepted into the greater mysteries with Theseus as his sponsor before he could go down into the underworld. Athena and Hermes led Hercules as he crossed the boundary between the Black Sea and the underworld. The Hades boatman Charon did not think twice to take Hercules over the underworld's rivers. With the exception of the Greek hero Meleager and the Gorgon Medusa, all the dead souls departed as Hercules got out of the boat. Hercules prepared his weapons and felt comforted that he would not be harmed by ghosts. Following his successful rescue of his companion, Theseus, Hercules insisted that Hades and Persephone turn over Cerberus. Hades answered that if Hercules could defeat him without the use of any weapons, then he could have him. Upon discovering Cerberus shackled to Acheron's gates, Hercules seized him by the throat. Cerberus drew back his 3 heads and his jagged tail in warning, but Hercules, shielded by his lion fur, kept pressing down on Cerberus' throat until he grew weak and submitted. Hercules, half carrying a chained Cerberus, crossed the river Styx with the assistance of Athena. Some versions of the story, such as the one found in Pausanias's description of Greece, state that Hercules carried Cerberus to the Echini cave, close to the Black Sea, while others claim that he raised him via a fissure close to Troezen. The toxic aconite plant grew as a result of Cerberus's saliva, which fell to the ground while he struggled against Hercules and barked with all 3 heads. Cerberus was brought to King Eurystheus in Mycenae by Hercules, where the monarch made a sacrifice. Rather than give Hercules a large part of the sacrifice, he gave him a little bit and kept the best for his family. This infuriated Hercules, who killed Eurystheus's sons. Hercules brought Cerberus back to Hades after giving him to King Eurystheus. The only Greek hero to physically vanquish Cerberus was Hercules. There were moments when Cerberus was duped, allowing the living to slip by him and into Hades, to get past the savage dog and retrieve a box from Persephone, a job that was essential to saving her beloved Eros. The nymph Psyche utilized honey cakes. In Greco-Roman mythology, Cerberus was put to sleep by the prophetess Sibyl, using honey cakes coated in drugged wine. This allowed Aeneas, the hero of Greco-Roman mythology, to enter Hades and converse with his father, Anchises. The nymph Eurydice escaped the beekeeper Aristaeus' advances when she was bitten by a poisonous snake. Famous poet Orpheus, her husband, entered the underworld after she passed away with the intention of regaining her. After reaching Hades, he charmed Cerberus, Charon, and the 3 judges of the dead with his lyre. With the help of his lyre, Orpheus was able to convince Hades to release Eurydice, but only if he promised not to look back until he was securely above ground. Sadly, Orpheus was unable to fulfill this commitment. According to another account, Orpheus roamed the earth while grieving and playing his lyre because Cerberus would not let him go. Following her escape from Corinth and her asylum with King Aegeus of Athens, Medea gave birth to Aegeus' son, whom she thought would eventually succeed his father as king. But Aegeus' hidden son, Theseus, turned up in Athens. Aware of this fresh danger to her son, Medea convinced Aegeus that Theseus was a spy. Aegeus offered Theseus a goblet of wine as they invited him to a feast. He was unaware that the wine contained wolfsbane, a toxin that originated from Cerberus's lethal saliva that was dispersed around the planet upon his forced escape from Hades. The Polish astronomer Johannes Hevelius made the discovery and gave name to the now obsolete Cerberus constellation in 1690. Rather than showing a dog, it showed a 3-headed serpent, and it is today a component of the constellation Hercules.